Welcome. My name is Amanda Hutchins, and I am the Operations and Visual Arts Program Manager for Lotus Education and Arts Foundation. In this video, we will go over some brief facts about Aboriginal people, traditional Aboriginal art, contemporary Aboriginal art, popular symbols in Aboriginal art, as well as the benefits of coloring. Aboriginal culture dates back 60,000 to 80,000 years. Over 400 nations occupied the Australian continent at one time. Today, 90% of Australia's Indigenous population identify as Aboriginal. They are one of two groups of Indigenous peoples of Australia, the other being the Torres Strait Islander peoples. Ancestors of the Aboriginal people are commonly thought to be primarily hunters and gatherers, although recent studies suggest that they also had settlements. In 2016, 789,400 Australians identified as Indigenous, with 91% of the Indigenous population identifying themselves as Aboriginal. Today, the largest Aboriginal populations can be found in Australia's Northern Territory. The Aboriginal people do not have a written language, but traditionally use symbols drawn with natural clay mixtures known as ochres to convey important cultural stories on materials like rocks, bark, and skin. Often accompanied with song and dance, these drawn stories preserve and transmit cultural beliefs, knowledge of the land, and survival skills for future generations. Images often have at least 3 layers of meaning. The surface meaning is for children or public view, then there is a general meaning, and finally a spiritual meaning. As an Aboriginal person learns more visual language and knowledge of their culture, they are able to access these deeper understandings. The most common story depicted in Aboriginal art is the dream time, a period of time in which they believe the world was created. A painter must receive permission to paint a story that contains secret or sacred information, especially in regards to ancient and important stories. Traditional Aboriginal artists are only allowed to paint stories they have inherited through family lineage. In contemporary Aboriginal art, the use of paint on canvas or board by Aboriginal artists to depict their traditional stories only started about 50 years ago. In 1971, a school teacher named Jeffrey Barton was working with Aboriginal children in Papania when he noticed men of the village drawing symbols in the sand. He encouraged them to start using watercolors on canvas and board to depict their stories. Aboriginal painters began using dots in their paintings, sometimes referred to as overdotting, when they became concerned that white men could see and understand their sacred traditional symbols. Overdotting eventually transformed into a style all its own, and today is associated with paintings from the Pintupi tribe. Aboriginal art differs in character and style depending from which region the artist is from and what language is spoken. Most contemporary art can be recognized from the community where it was created. Dot painting is common amongst artists from the central and western desert. X-ray and crosshatch patterns, known as RARC, come from the Northern Territory. The Wangina spirit beings are often used in works by artists from Kimberley in Western Australia. Popular symbols in Aboriginal art. People. People are represented by a U-shape, a shape that mimics the print left behind by someone sitting cross-legged in the sand. Women may be represented by a U-shape, an oval, and a line. The oval represents a kulaman bowl, and the line represents a digging stick. Men may be represented by a U-shape and a line. This added line can represent a spear or a boomerang. Meeting places. A campsite, waterhole, fireplace, or ceremonial site is represented by a set of concentric circles. Water holes are an important part of survival in the desert and are often places of ceremonial significance to the Aboriginal people. For this reason, the symbol representing a water hole and the symbol for ceremony are often interchangeable in Aboriginal art. Tracks. Lines between 2 circles are used to represent the path between meeting places. Wavy lines are used to represent running water between 2 sites. Animals. Animals are sometimes represented by the tracks they leave behind. The symbol for kangaroos depicts the marks left by their large back feet. Goannas are represented by the marks left by their feet as well as the winding drag mark of their large tails. On the coloring sheets provided, you will see some of the symbols and elements of overdotting incorporated into the designs. Coloring is beneficial as it helps reduce stress and anxiety, improves motor skills and vision, improves sleep and focus, and increases mindfulness. Thank you for watching this video, and we hope you learned something new today and go on to enjoy coloring your Aboriginal-inspired designs.